What's up? Welcome in. Hoge Jahns with you. Week 6 is here. The Bears trying to get their second win of the season. Johnsy, what's up?
Well, it's better than being the 0-5 Carolina Panthers, unless you're the Bears rooting for them.
Right.
To keep losing?
Yeah. Go whoever's playing the Panthers this weekend. I don't even know off the top of my head.
Jaguars.
I'm sure we'll get
-4.
we'll get there in the picks.
Nope,
I'm
wrong
sure.
team. Hold on. Let me get it right.
Yeah, I don't think that's
Dolphins.
right.
Dolphins, -13.5.
Okay. All right. We'll pick that a little bit later on as we continue to pick the Panthers games every week. 13.5. Wow. All right. As we jump into this game between the Bears and Vikings in the NFC North rivalry, a big game between two 1-4 teams. Let's be honest, Johns. There's only one game that matters this weekend.
Go ahead, say it.
Carmel versus Notre Dame.
I have that on the list of games to pick and discuss later if you wanted to cheat ahead.
Pick the game.
Yes, you can.
Oh, my goodness. I'm looking at disrespect on the spread, too. My goodness. Okay, we'll get there. Some bulletin board material. Okay, we're putting that on the dot. So for those that don't know what we're talking about, Johnsy is a proud Don, whatever that is, a Notre Dame Don.
Gentleman of Mary.
Still don't feel like that clears that up, but okay.
Gentleman of Mary.
You could probably say the same thing about Carmel. What is a corsair? I believe it is a French pirate.
I don't know why that's making me laugh.
That's
because it's because we're recording this at 9 p.m. and
we are doing a special Wednesday night recording here because of some of our travel schedules with our producer Kent. How about Connor Bedard, since it's Wednesday night and he just scored a goal? That was cool.
Again?
No, I mean earlier he did.
Oh, okay.
Unless I missed it. Yeah.
Because the game's on right now. It's still 2-1.
Yeah, no, he has the one goal tonight. But anyway, we'll get into this. But Johns went to Notre Dame. I obviously coach Carmel. We play Notre Dame Friday night.
So if you happen to be one of our listeners in Ireland or Australia or Germany, since we've seen them gone international, these are two local high schools who play kind of in the same league, this massive division of Catholic high schools around here in the Chicagoland area.
Yeah, there's 24 schools in the conference now.
It's by far the best football in the state of Illinois, with all due respect to everybody else. This is it.
It is, and the schedule's not easy. And you got a lot of tough games. So Notre Dame coming to Carmel Friday night. We're excited about it. Are you going to come to the game or not?
No, I got plans.
Yeah, of course.
I actually do.
What a fake fan. Although I might give you a break because it's supposed to be like 55 and just pouring rain the whole time.
Yeah, I have fun too.
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes with a little monsoon game like Bears and 49ers a year ago. We are going to hear from Alec Lewis here, who covers the Vikings. You heard from him back in August when we previewed the Vikings. We previewed the NFC North. We're going to check in with him on the Vikings' slow start, some of the injuries going on there. But before we get into the Vikings, we need to catch you up on what's going on with the Bears and somewhat of a lengthy injury report today, Johnsy, coming out. I don't think it's that bad of an injury report. I mean, there's not really any surprises on there necessary, maybe some minor ones, but for the most part, even though there's a ton of names on there, it's actually relatively encouraging, I feel like.
Okay, but serious question. What did Greg Braggs do to Cole Kmet to land him on the injury report? Were they like wrestling in studio or something?
I think it was Carm singing.
Did he throw a brick at him? Well, that'll knock you over.
It just, has a weird, a feeling on the hamstring. I don't know. It just, I don't know. Cole Kmet on the injury report today with the hamstring. I was not aware of that, so that either means it happened in practice today, as we record on Wednesday, or it's just lingering from the game last week. He did say that Cole Kmet did tell us that on CHGO yesterday he was supposed to play golf over the weekend and didn't because he was so sore from the game. So maybe that's just carryover. Yeah. That's all I know on that. That's all I can really report on that. But that was the one surprising guy to see on the injury report today. Cole Kmet limited with the hamstring. Kyler Gordon, He's on. He's designated to return from IR, so eligible to practice. He was limited today with a hand. Khalil Herbert did not practice with that ankle. That was expected. Travis Homer did not practice with the hamstring. That was expected. So 2 running backs down there. Eddie Jackson returning from the foot. He was limited. That's encouraging. Jalen Johnson, limited with that hamstring he's been dealing with, and certainly talked like he was planning on playing in this game. Speaking to reporters today at House Hall. So that's encouraging too. You also have Doug Kramer coming back from the thumb. He was full go today as he's designated to return from IR as well. Lucas Patrick, Roshan Johnson, both did not practice with their concussions. Terrell Smith with the ankle is limited, and Equinemius St. Brown hamstring did not practice. So just to kind of sort through all that, the guys that I wouldn't expect to see this weekend: Khalil Herbert, Travis Homer, not looking good for Equinemius St. Brown necessarily. And then who knows with Lucas Patrick and Roshan Johnson with those concussions, but not great that they didn't practice.
How do you feel about Deontay Foreman being the Bears' top back after being inactive in consecutive weeks? Was he not?
Yeah. I mean, he's been active since week 2, I believe.
Week 2? Yeah, 4 consecutive weeks. Wow.
Yeah. I'm not too worried about that because I feel like he's been inactive because he doesn't do a whole lot
on teams.
Just play running back. So, okay, now they need you to be the lead back. Go do it. Now, the problem is, I think, they did go out and sign Darrington Evans. But correct me if I'm wrong. If Khalil Herbert, Travis Homer, and Roshan Johnson are all out, aren't you going into the game with Deontay Foreman, Darrington Evans, and Kari Blasingame,
who had a career high in carries last week?
Yeah. So you almost need to sign another running back if Roshan's not back by Sunday. So that's obviously something to monitor.
Yeah, but then you're playing with different roster spots. Maybe the injury for Travis Homer isn't that bad. He's back next week. You're just trying to get through this week against a pretty mediocre defense in Minnesota with what you got.
I think you feel good about Deontay Foreman. I think you can get by, just like last year when David Montgomery went down, and you got by just fine with Khalil Herbert. This is a guy who ran for 1,000 yards last year when Christian McCaffrey was gone.
Exactly. You could get carries in with Justin Fields. You could throw some quick screens, which in my opinion are basically run plays, just to the outside in a sense. And then, Velus Jones Jr., give him a couple end arounds. Get him involved.
It's almost more concerning to me that Equinemius St. Brown is down with a hamstring. Because
we saw that happen. Oh, you weren't in Washington, but we saw that happen. It was on a special teams play. He had to slowly make his way across the field, holding his right hamstring.
I mean, you can say he doesn't do a lot from a production standpoint, but I mean, the offense has been better since Claypool went missing and EQ got back in there.
Yeah. Oh, I got some stats on that though too.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later.
So let's not minimize that. All right. There's your little injury report on the Bears and where it stands. It is a long list. Of course, the Vikings dealing with their own injuries as well. Talk about that. Some of the other things going on with this team. We have Alec Lewis joining the show. He covers the Vikings for The Athletic, and we bring him in here now. What's up, Alec? Right on the great timing, right on the heels of the Twins bowing out of the playoffs.
I appreciate you guys letting me watch the Twins put it to bed, or I guess the Astros put the Twins to bed. But it was a fun little run for Minnesota sports fans who need as much positivity at the moment and always as possible. So fun little run.
I think Chicago would give them a run for their money for positivity.
Very fair. Not going to argue with there, though. I think at this point, as I said to you in a message earlier, Adam, I mean, this is a battle 1-4 with, I don't know, it feels like the Chicago Bears have maybe more positive vibes, which a few weeks ago would have been hard to fathom in my own head, probably.
Yeah, let's start there because I think you're right there that these two teams, at least coming off of last week's results, seem to be trending in different directions. The Bears have really gotten going offensively the last 2 weeks, even though they blew that game against the Broncos. And, I think maybe the Vikings would feel a little bit better about, you played the Chiefs somewhat close. I mean, the Bears certainly didn't a few weeks ago, but coming off the way that game ended with Justin Jefferson getting hurt, it doesn't seem like there's much positivity right now with this Vikings team.
No, I mean, the Jefferson injury was just the icing on the cake of a 1-4 start that has not been anywhere close to what the team expected. I mean, when you play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in week 1, a team that is now 3-1, but at the time was a team that I think the Vikings felt like they should beat. And then when you play close against the Chargers and go to Philadelphia and compete, but turn the ball over, I think it's been a wacky start. I mean, the turnovers have really been the theme, and you really can't analyze this 1-4 start without mentioning the fact that the Vikings have turned the ball over 6 times in opposing territory within the 30-yard line. And that when you do that in this league, and you already have the thin margin for error that the Vikings were always going to have before the season, you're going to put yourself in a situation where it's tough to beat teams in this league. And so combine the turnovers and the lack of success in terms of the win column with the Jefferson injury and him being out and on injured reserve, and you've got a team in a very interesting spot when they entered the season wanting to compete.
So Jefferson's going to be out with 4 games, right? So it's the Bears, 49ers, Packers, and Falcons. And you had this column today that, well, like it's interesting to me because you use the rebuild, and that's what like we went through that last year. Like I've never covered anything like this where you're trading your best players. And you had a column the other day about trading Kirk Cousins. Like, what is going on there? Like, what can you foresee happening with the Minnesota Vikings?
Yeah, I mean, to understand the decision that they face right now, you have to understand the route that they've chosen since they hired Kwesi Adofo-Mensah at the beginning of 2022 when they fired Rick Spielman and kind of brought in a new regime. Kwesi Adofo-Mensah came in and he said he wanted to deploy what he called at the time was going to be a competitive rebuild. And what he meant by that was he wanted the team to be able to compete every year and give themselves a chance to make the playoffs and get a run at it in the playoffs, while also flipping the cap over in the long term. And last year, winning 13 games while also kind of massaging the cap was something that aligned pretty solidly with that competitive rebuild. This year, they have not been competitive in the record term. I mean, on the field, it's been somewhat competitive, but they find themselves in a situation where you really face a decision. Are you going to continue this path of picking 15th to 25th in the draft and keep rolling with that approach? Or is this a time where you say, you know what? As Howie Roseman has said publicly in the past, the best way to flip a team and to do it quickly is to be picking highly. And so for the Vikings, if that is their attempt, if that becomes their attempt, then trading off their premium assets probably makes sense. Now, there are hurdles with all of those. The Kirk Cousins thing, he has a no-trade clause, so that is the major hurdle with that situation. And then you have to ask the question, how many other teams, in terms of whether it be the Jets or the Falcons, how interested would they really be in trying to make that happen? I think that's a very valid question. And then guys like Danielle Hunter, I mean, what is the ultimate return for a guy like that at his age? So there are a lot of questions, and I don't know if a full-fledged rebuild at this point is even really possible with where they're at. But they face a decision with Jefferson out to where they have a lot of things that they have to be considering, I think.
So let's talk about Kirk Cousins for a second, because the numbers have certainly been there. Are they sort of misleading? Or has he been playing as well as the numbers suggest?
He's definitely been solid. There's no question. I mean, I believe it's second in the NFL in yards and first in touchdowns. And he did it the first 2 weeks without much of a running game. And the turnovers have really gotten in the way of them putting points on the board with a lot of the success he's had. There was an interception at the goal line in the red zone against Carolina. That was a brutal interception and one that he was absolutely kicking himself for after the game. But holistically, I mean, I think he's been pretty good. He's been pretty effective. Most of the advanced metrics would tell you he's been pretty solid if you eliminate some of the turnovers and fumbles and not just turnovers that he's thrown. So I think he's been pretty solid. It's just for him and the interest elsewhere would probably be a matter of here's a 35-year-old guy who would want multiple years probably of security, and would a team be willing to pay him what he is interested in to bring that on? And I think that's where it becomes a very complex situation.
Do you think the Vikings at some point, if the numbers stay good, stay strong, and he's up there in the top 5 in every statistical category, right? He's going to throw for a lot of yards. Like you said, he's leading the league in touchdowns. Like, could they be that team who gives him that 3-year contract? Like, or do they want to jump into QB limbo in a sense? Like, if anything, he's brought stability to that position for a long time for Minnesota.
Yeah, they haven't ruled out a potential return. So it's important to say that. And both he and the Vikings met during the offseason, his representatives and the Vikings, and the conversations were pretty cordial. But at the time, they couldn't come to terms on a deal. Kirk wanted more long-term security, and the Vikings wanted more long-term flexibility. And Kwesi Adofo-Mensah said right before the season that the team would revisit things if it made sense for both parties. But he and Kevin O'Connell have also talked about the benefit of having a quarterback on a rookie contract. And Kevin O'Connell, as people here know, is a quarterback guy. He entered the coaching world through the quarterback development space. He worked with George Whitfield in 2014 and worked around some really high-level guys who were picked very highly. And so his expertise really lies in that position. And so this Vikings brass, and Kwesi Adofo-Mensah specifically, who was with the 49ers and with the Browns, who have taken aggressive swings at quarterbacks, I think is aware of that potential and what it could bring to have that elite type guy. But you're right, Adam, and that is the balance that this, I think, fan base and people here even ask themselves is do we realize what we have in a guy who has brought stability for as long as he's been here? And are we willing to risk not having that for the potential upside? And it is a big question. It's the ultimate question that will shape the future of this franchise.
Like you look just at his numbers, like almost every team in the league outside of 5 or 6 would probably take that from their quarterback position, right? Like I know one. I cover one who right. Don't debate me on this, Hoge. The Bears would like that.
like the numbers?
Yes, just like the production. I know.
I think the Jets would want that right now.
The Jets. I mean, there's at least 80% of the league would take what Kirk Cousins can give you at the position.
The question, I mean, with Kirk too, the question would be like, for him, is to waive the no trade clause, would the situation be right enough? So with the Jets specifically, I mean, you're talking about learning entirely new offense in the middle of the season when you're putting up incredible numbers at the moment to put yourself in free agency to make a lot of money. So if you were to depart from that situation and move to a new franchise in the Jets and have to learn an offense on the fly, you'd probably want some more long-term security to be okay with dealing with that in the short term. The Falcons are interesting in that Kirk's wife, Julie, is from Georgia, and they've spent a lot of offseason time in that area. So there is that connection that plays a role. But again, those teams would probably have to be willing to pony up a lot of money, not just for this season, but future dollars to secure for Kirk Cousins to be secure to waive that no trade clause and enter that type of situation. But he is just so fascinating. It has been since I started covering this team, and that he is so polarizing. You look at the numbers, they say what they say. People talk about how he performs or doesn't in the big games. I mean, he is it's just such a fascinating, probably just example of a case study of that position that we will look back on probably years from now.
He's fine is what he is. He's fine. He's fine, and a lot of teams would accept fine from their quarterback position, and right now,
Like I'm
I
not
think that,
saying like
yeah.
obviously like the Texans, for example. The draft is CJ Stroud. Of course, they're not taking Kirk Cousins at this point, but the production, again, like it's there. It's undebatable. Like it's he's done what he's done in the league for a long time. Go ahead, Ed. I'm sorry.
No, I know. It's just 9 years of doing this pod. You're still defending your guy. You love Kirk Cousins. It's well documented. All right. I want to know, Alec, though, what this offense is going to look like this weekend without Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, I mean it's it's going to lean heavily on Jordan Addison, the rookie, who's started the week on the injury report with an ankle injury, but I fully expect him to be good to go. So you start with Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, who the team extended for a top of the market tight end contract, who quite frankly probably hasn't performed anywhere close to that contract through 5 games of this season. He will factor in KJ Osborne, who probably knows this playbook at the wide receiver position better than Jordan Addison and anybody else, will probably fill a pretty big role. So the Vikings will lean heavily on those guys. And truth be told, the running game has been better over the last 3 weeks, and leaning on that is probably a route that Kevin O'Connell will go with heavier personnel, with multiple tight ends, with the fullback. So that's probably what Chicago will see. It's going to really be Kevin O'Connell in this offices and Kirk Cousins for the first time in probably a year and a half. It's going to be their first time going against the defense, knowing that they're not specifically game planning to take away Justin Jefferson. And so how that affects things is going to be pretty fascinating to watch from this side.
What do you make of the Vikings defense? We know they're going to blitz a lot, but like you look at a lot of the numbers, they don't look like a very good unit. Like what's going on?
Yeah. The talent is leaves a lot to be desired. In 2022, they drafted Lewis Seen in the first round, Andrew Booth in the second round, and Brian Asamoah, linebacker, in the third round. And those guys, I think, together before this past Sunday, combined for 4 total defensive snaps. They've just been total non-factors. And so the talent is just totally devoid of the defense is devoid of talent and really impact players at a lot of positions. They've tried to blitz a ton to throw different looks at quarterbacks. But if you go look at opposing completion percentage, they've given up the second highest opposing completion percentage to quarterbacks in the NFL this year. Teams have had no problem just getting the ball out pretty quickly and finding guys in a lot of open space. So it's been blitzing, but off coverage, because the Vikings haven't been able to get pressure with 4. They are very susceptible in a lot of different spots. The cornerbacks are very young and inexperienced. The interior of the defensive line does not have much pass rush ability. So, they are gettable and have been for every single team, from Baker Mayfield to Jalen Hurts to I mean, even Bryce Young had a pretty solid completion percentage against them, and it was one fumble that really ruined his day.
So based on what you saw the Bears do the last couple of weeks, and especially against Washington, not that those defenses, the Broncos or Commanders, are any good, but I mean, do you feel like the Bears are going to be able to move the ball on Sunday in this game?
Yeah, without question. I mean, until this Vikings defense proves that it can really stifle an offense and really just with the talent in general, it is so much of the talent that was here last year. And those Bears game, the first Bears game where the starters played most of the game, the Bears moved the football in that game. And I had flashes of Justin running 65 yards, I think, on a scramble down the field. I mean, I have flashes of Amir Smith-Marset catching passes against Cam Dantzler, who is no longer here, or I don't believe playing anywhere in the NFL. So, yeah, I expect the Bears to be able to move the ball, and really, until the Vikings prove me wrong on that, they could probably be pretty dynamic and continue the path that they've been on these last couple of weeks.
Before we let you go, do you have a game pick yet? I know it's Wednesday night. A lot can happen, but how are you feeling about this one?
I'm still thinking about it. It's going to be, even with probably you can hear some of the negativity in my voice, and as you can hear me outline this entire situation, it's going to be hard for me to pick against the Vikings, even though this is on the road and a divisional matchup, just because I think offensively the firepower is still going to be there with Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson. And if it's not, then this team is in a spot to where you do go back to the rebuild and the conversation, because it'd be a pretty I think, deflating loss for most inside the building. So I lean Vikings at this point. I probably expect to be more high scoring than whatever the number is. And so, yeah, that's where I land. If you're asking me for a score, I'd probably say 27-24 Vikings. I think it's going to be that close.
Okay, makes sense. Alec Lewis, appreciate the insight as always. Make sure Bears fans will be following you this week on Twitter at Alec_Lewis. We'll see you in Chicago.
Appreciate you guys. See you soon.
Thanks,
all right,
Alec.
there he is. Alec Lewis, some good stuff there. So despite all of that, still no trust in the Bears to actually pick the Bears.
Well, the Vikings, as we'll get to later, are still the road favorites.
2.5 points, although it has come down. It was 3.5. Justin Jefferson essentially worth a point. Officially being ruled out, although it felt like even when that line was made, sort of assumed that injury did not look good on Sunday.
Yeah.
All right. 3 big questions.
Who of the Bears missed more, Hoge? Kyler Gordon, Jalen Johnson, or Eddie Jackson?
I got to ask this question on the score today, and I went with Eddie. Yeah, I it was asked a little differently, and I didn't actually love my own answer. I went with Eddie Jackson though, and I still think I'm sticking with it, and because let me talk my way through this. Let's start with Kyler Gordon. I like Kyler Gordon a lot. You and I were in agreement that he was among the best players out there in training camp. I thought he was the defensive MVP of training camp. So you'd be like, oh, did they miss him? Well, here's the thing. I don't know yet, because going into the offseason, quite frankly, I wasn't thrilled with Kyler Gordon's rookie year. I like what he did in training camp, but he wasn't out there enough in week 1 to really know what they were missing, if that makes sense. And I actually think they did a decent job with the guys that they put out there and the way they blitzed Greg Stroman or Josh Blackwell when he was in there. Like I am optimistic that Kyler Gordon can still be awesome this year. But until he shows it, I'm not necessarily sure I can say, oh, yeah, they really miss him at this point. Whereas I felt like on the back end, they really missed Eddie Jackson.
Yeah, that's a great point. What did you make of, I want to say Jalen Johnson, but something today I saw kind of caught my attention when Terrell Smith came up in conversation. That's the 5th round pick, rookie 5th round pick out of Minnesota. Came up in conversation with Matt Eberflus. And he's been impressed, more than impressed.
Yeah.
And this dates back to the start of training camp when he was in a competition with Tyreek Stevenson, and then he got hurt and Stevenson pulled away. Terrell Smith is going to play. Eberflus said that. He's on record saying he's going to play. I don't know if he's going to start or where it's going to be, but there seems to be an opening here for another rookie to make his case for playing time. I'm not sure if that affects Jalen Johnson, but it could affect Tyreek Stevenson. I just thought it was noteworthy to hear that from Eberflus today.
Well, I hope it doesn't affect Jalen Johnson. I think Jalen Johnson, when he was out there, was playing great football. He's the type of guy that, I'm not sure you got to shadow either Jordan Addison or KJ Osborne, but whoever he's going up against in this game, I think he'll do a good job of limiting whoever that person is out there. And then all of a sudden you're talking about the Vikings being relatively one-dimensional. I like Terrell Smith too. I think if I had to guess, I think that maybe that ends up being more of a rotation with Tyreek Stevenson,
who has struggled.
Yeah, because Tyreek Stevenson struggled here a little bit. Maybe if you take a little bit off his plate, you get more out of him. Maybe there's a rotation there. I don't know. I do kind of wonder, though, if they like both of these young rookies with Jalen Johnson in his contract situation, depending on how this Bears season's looking in a couple weeks. Does that mean Jalen Johnson could be on the move potentially before the deadline? I think it's somewhere on the table, but I think it depends a lot on how the Bears look in these next couple weeks. Because if they win a few games and all of a sudden they're closer to 500,
well, then you keep them.
Yeah, I think you got to keep them then. And I like Jalen Johnson a lot. I think he's a really good player. I go back to last year with Roquan Smith. Just at some point, you got to stop trading good players.
Yeah.
You got to keep good players on your roster.
We have a story that's coming up on The Athletic where we were asked for trade candidates on each team. Now, I handled the Bears, and I put down Jalen Johnson. One, the Bears have drafted 3 cornerbacks in the past 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
But And Jalen Johnson was not drafted by Ryan Poles. Good player, struggles to stay in the field. Like, he has battled injuries, has not had a full season, I think, right? He's missed games in every single year.
He's not missed a lot of games.
No, it's
He's
not
usually
like,
been available.
correct.
Yeah.
But you still have things that pop up.
Sure.
I'm with you. Eventually, you got to retain some of this talent, and I think the Bears want to. I think Jalen Johnson wants to, but there's no deal past this year. He's not under a contract past this year, so we'll see what happens. Number 2, what do you make of the Bears' offensive changes? I got some numbers for you, Adam Hoge.
Okay. I'm ready for this.
So they've gone to more 12 personnel.
I love it.
Want to tell everybody what that is?
12 personnel, 1 running back, 2 tight ends on the field. That means only 2 wide receivers out there.
There you go. Week 1, 12 personnel snaps, 3. Week 2, 8. Week 3, 6. Week 4, 14. Week 5, 27. So there's an obvious increase. And I think that, well, obviously, weeks 4 and week 5 is when Chase Claypool was benched. But what do you make of that?
Well, I mean, that has an impact, right? You take Claypool out of the equation. You're mainly running around with, with DJ Moore and Darnell Mooney out there. But I think it helps your run game. I think it gets a more outside zone, which seemed to be missing early on in the season. There was just a lot of weird things about how they started the season.
Yeah, you're able to keep more protection in when you got 2 tight ends in the field, right? When you want to help your offensive line and you want to take shot plays, you want explosive plays like the Bears want. And part of that is also the use of play action, right? So play action percentage in early downs. Week 1, 19.4%. Week 2, 20.8%. Week 3, 23.5%. Here's the jump. Week 4, this is play action percentage in early downs, 46.4%. Week 5, 40.9%. This is from our friends at True Media Sports.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's important to be able to keep the running game going this week, even without Khalil Herbert. Now, there's some very smart football people that will tell you, and I've heard this many times on the Athletic Football podcast, that you don't need an effective running game to still run play action effectively. But it does help. I certainly don't think it's a bad thing. Just, to me, it's no surprise when I see that tweet that you had and those numbers that you just listed off. Those changes led to better offensive football. It's that simple. Like, just do the things that sometimes we make this game too hard. Just make it more simple. Make it work. And I think that can still continue this week with heavy blitzes. It helps to have more protection in there. Helps to have extra tight ends. Go to the quick game more. I said this the other day. I think they're close to unlocking Darnell Mooney. I would not be surprised to see him have a nice game this week. So, and keep feeding Cole Kmet the football too, because he's assuming his hamstring deal is not a big deal. He should continue playing pretty well.
Yeah, tell Braggs leave him alone. Number 3, let's re-rank the NFC North quarterbacks. You got 5 games in the books.
Okay.
We know them: Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins, Jordan Love, Justin Fields. How would you rank them at this point in this season?
So can I clarify the question a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
Are you asking me how I would rank them to win a game this weekend? Or who do I want on my team going forward?
Who do you want this season? Let's put it
for the rest of the season.
Yes.
Oh, it's such a convoluted conversation. I think I go Jared Goff.
Wow.
I think I go Jared Goff because I think that but the problem is you take Jared Goff, you put him on the Bears, it's a different Jared Goff. Like, that's a well-oiled machine they have going on right now with Ben Johnson and that offense in Detroit. So that's what's tough about it.
How about this? Who do you think is playing the best right now?
Jared Goff.
Okay.
I think Jared Goff is. And I know Kirk Cousins' numbers are up there, but I just think if you watch, and we just heard Alec talk about it, there's too many turnovers. they're not getting enough points out of the yardage they're getting right now in Minnesota, if that makes sense. Tons of yardage, too many empty possessions on the back end where they're not getting enough points out of it. That's why they're 1-4. So I think Goff's playing the best. And again, I'm going off the whole 5 games. Who's playing the best the last 2 weeks? Justin Fields is. But you can't just ignore the first 3 weeks in that conversation. So
the 4-1 Lions, Kirk Cousins has completed nearly 70% of his passes.
Yeah.
More than 1,200 yards, 9 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's got a passer rating of 104.4. That is 6th in the NFL. He's got a QBR of 71.2. That's 5th in the NFL. Playing well.
Let me do this a few different ways. Ranking the quarterbacks based on how they played so far this season, it's Goff, Cousins, Fields, Love.
I agree with you.
If I'm ranking them on who I would trust to get a victory this weekend, right now, I would say Goff, Fields, Cousins, Love. Who I would draft out of these guys to lead my franchise going forward, I still got Fields number 1. There's just too much talent there. You're starting to see the signs here. I don't know that I would have said that 3 weeks ago, quite frankly, because of how bad it looked, but now everything's starting to look on the up and up again. So I would still take that chance. At this point, you know what Goff and Cousins are.
I feel like Goff is still like, it's not like he's showing you more, but he's just in such an ideal situation for him.
Yeah. It's a good job that they've done there. Because, I mean, I think most people had written him off after that trade. It was like he was almost thrown in there just to like even out the money, like it was the NBA or something. But they've put him in a good position to have success.
He's playing better than Matthew Stafford. Over-unders, but I want to continue with the Fields conversation for a second.
Sure.
So this is obviously from our listeners, followers on Twitter. This is from Jonathan Wood, friend of the show. So if we're talking season long, Fields is currently on pace for 3,886 passing yards, 37 passing TDs, 17 interceptions, and 650 rushing yards. Let's go over and under on those real quick. 3,886 passing yards, over or under?
Where I think he ends up?
Yeah.
I'm going to say under.
Me too. 37 passing TDs.
Probably under. We're so jaded here.
Yeah,
It's so hard to think that. Yeah, I'm going to go under. I'm sorry.
17 interceptions. I would actually go under too.
Yeah, I think I go under that too. I think that. I think like somewhere in the low 30s though. For touchdown passes. I do think he gets over 3,000 passing yards. I think he can flirt with 3,500. And let me get back to what I really said I remember talking to Nate Tice about this in the offseason when we were trying to figure out how many passing yards. And what I always said was just get to 4,000 total yards. And those numbers right there, that puts them over 4,000 total between the rushing and the passing.
Yes.
I still think that's, what would you say over under on that if I said 4,000?
For total yardage?
For total yardage.
Over.
Yeah, I think over too.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great season if he gets there.
I think, when I first saw those numbers, thank you, Jonathan. Like, you're just like, of course I would take that. I would 100% take that. I would take them if it was Mitch Trubisky. I would take them if it was with Jay Cutler, Josh McCown, whatever. A Bears quarterback puts up numbers like that. Like, that's almost reason for celebration because it's been a long time since you've had flirting with 40 touchdown passes. I know it happens quite a bit now in the NFL, but not here in Chicago. I would take all of that if that's what it pans out to be. And obviously we're jaded. I don't think he's going to hit 37, but if he hits 30, I take that. 30 touchdowns. I take that in a heartbeat. All right, more. Bear down Omaha. Kevin Warren building the Viking Stadium mentions 1.5.
But take the under. I think it comes up once.
Okay, agreed.
Remember, this game's at Soldier Field, not at US Bank Stadium. It might be different, but I do think it comes up one time. I would be surprised if it's more than that.
This is from Sam. Over under mentions of Justin Jefferson having more receiving yards already than any wide receiver in Bears history. Half.
Yeah, that's 100% coming up.
Yes, over. Take that.
Yeah,
over.
I mean, Schefter tweeted that the other day. Just like unnecessary shot. It felt like it felt like there was some purpose behind it.
There'll be a graphic.
So it's
going to be a
definitely
graphic.
Your research.
Yeah, it's coming up.
Yes, there'll be a graphic. This is from Joshua. N'Keal Harry playing for both the Bears and Vikings mentions half.
One half.
Who's on the team?
Yeah, they promoted. They got he's on the 53. He's the replacement for Justin Jefferson. How do you feel about that?
I just like that. Like he was supposed to be like he was a story last year for like too much. And I mean this respectfully, but this is how DJ Moore is just different, like a true number one wide receiver. Like when Harry became a storyline for a few weeks last year because you needed help for Fields, right? That's why Claypool arrived. That's why he was traded for. Feels good to have DJ Moore.
Isn't Amir Smith-Marset on the...
He is.
No. Oh, he's on the Panthers now.
Oh, he's gone?
When did that happen?
I think Kyrie Tonga is on the Vikings.
Yeah, he is.
Jonathan Bullard.
Oh, Amir Smith-Marset was on the Vikings before the Bears. For some reason, I thought he went back there. Huh. Anyway. Yeah, Kyrie Tonga's still up there.
Tonga's on there. Who else is on there?
Yeah. Not sure there's any other ones. But yeah, N'Keal Harry, old friend. He might get a catch. Cousins might find him at one point. He's good at finding the open guy, whoever it is. They might need him.
Revenge game.
They're going to be desperate. So, that's it for over-unders, isn't it?
Yep. Let's make our picks here.
All right. Yeah, let's get to, we'll start with this.
Bold predictions.
I am going to say, I don't know, as a Darnell Mooney gets a touchdown in this game and at least 4 receptions and a touchdown. Is that bold enough?
4 receptions and a touchdown.
I mean, considering it's 0 last week, it really hasn't been going well.
He hasn't been going well for a while now. That's bold.
Yeah,
that's bold. I was gonna go with Deontay Foreman hitting 100 yards rushing.
Ooh, that is bold too. Okay, I like it. All right, here we go. Fox noon. Vikings at Bears. The Bears 2.5-point home dogs in this one. Where are you leaning here, Johns?
It's gonna give you some stats real quick. You start talking. Let me dig up these stats. Real quick.
Okay. Well, I'll start with this before I give my prediction. I feel like the Bears offensively are going to continue to score points in this game. I think what I'm debating is, do they get over 30? Do the Bears score over 30 points? And I'm leaning towards yes right now. Do you have your stats?
Minnesota's defense ranks 30th in opposing quarterback passer rating at 110.8. 31st in completion percentage at 76.4. That is a ridiculously high amount. 22nd in passing yards per game, 240. 25th in third down percentage, 43.7. And 27th in yards after the catch. Hello, DJ Moore at 517 total. The Vikings do rank second in limiting explosive plays, trailing the San Francisco 49ers, which might be the best team in the NFL. But I think some of that has to do with what Alex said, is they're blitzing, the ball is getting out quick, and that's how teams are functioning against them.
Okay.
So
All right.
I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I'm going to say 30-26 Bears.
30-26. I'm in a similar range. I am going to take the Bears to win as well. A lot of times, guys, it's not who you play, it's when you play them. And I think that this is just the right time to catch the Vikings. You cannot pull Justin Jefferson out of that offense and feel like it's going to just be clicking right away. It might in a few weeks. Like Kirk Cousins is, I dog on him, but he's pretty smart quarterback. He's going to find
The
guys
numbers
that are
are
open.
what they are.
They are what
He's
they
going to
are.
produce.
I get it. But I do think that where you look at this, just where this matchup is, I don't see any reason unless the Bears get back in the way of themselves from a game plan standpoint offensively. If they just keep sticking to what they're doing, it should continue to work. I don't there might be a team coming up here soon that has what it takes to make corrections like we saw last year where all of a sudden the Bears couldn't move the ball again. But I just don't think that's this week against this Vikings defense. And then meanwhile, I'm not saying it's going to be pretty, but I think that there's still going to be turnovers that the Vikings commit. They need to prove that they can't do that. So I am going to say Bears 31, Vikings 21.
Wow.
A 10-point win here for the Bears.
Wow. I do think it's a favorable matchup for Justin Fields. And Justin Jefferson is leaving. Jalen Johnson and Eddie Jackson are coming back for the Bears.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Now they could be sitting there looking at how Khalil Herbert's hurt and saying the Bears running game might take a hit. Maybe we're giving Deontay Foreman too much credit, but this was the exact role he filled last year.
yeah, I think it can work fine. You know why? Because Tevin Jenkins looks good. Nate Davis, good. Cody Whitehair at center, fine.
Another thing,
and Larry Borum's been playing well.
He's been solid. Another thing that's been trending in the right direction is the Bears' offensive line. And the Vikings' offensive line can't say the same thing right now. That's been a mess. So, yeah, I just think the timing here is good. So we'll see how it plays out. Let's move on to some other games.
If we win this game tonight, Adam Hoge will be rhetorically dancing with his verbiage. 2 outs. Here's Luke Boyd pinch batting.
R.I.P. Ed Farmer. CBS noon. Panthers at Dolphins. Here it is.
I love that soundbite. Go ahead.
The team that the Bears continue to track. Number 1 overall pick on the line. The Dolphins 13.5-point favorites. This should be a win easily for Miami, you would think.
Yeah. Is Bryce Young good? Or just a rookie quarterback?
Yeah. I don't need to go on a whole rant on this, but can we give the kid a break? Like, rookie quarterbacks struggle. They turn the ball over. It's what they do. His completion percentage is actually pretty solid. I think he's up towards 65%. Hasn't been pretty. He doesn't have a lot of help.
I was going to say. The Carolina Panthers had DJ Moore and Christian McCaffrey once.
Yes.
And they traded both of them away.
I still think Bryce Young's going to be fine, but there's some interesting comments this week and the stuff leaking out about how the owner, David Tepper, really wanted Bryce Young, and maybe the coaching staff wasn't on the same page there. And CJ Stroud's now tearing it up in Houston. It's a tough situation.
It's been 5 weeks. You can't make, I'm trying to teach myself to be more patient. In Chicago, we tend not to be, but.
Yeah. Now, I might surprise you here. Dolphins, obviously, a ton of firepower. Panthers, D's solid. Defense still solid. 13.5 is too many points here. I think it's a slim cover by the Carolina Panthers.
How about a 14-0 game?
I mean, I guess that's on the now that I think the Dolphins will score more points than that. So maybe I should take the Dolphins here. But
21-7. I'm taking the Dolphins. They're going to win by 2 touchdowns.
There you go. Devon Achane is out though, and he's been speaking good rookies. He's been tearing it up, so that might hurt the Dolphins a little bit. All right, next up.
You're not listening, Chris.
CBS noon. Colts at Jaguars. Jaguars 4-point home favorites. Colts do not have Anthony Richardson. Gardner Minshew will be the quarterback.
Another week where there weren't many like intriguing games for me. I don't think there's that many. There's just not that many good teams, I feel like. But interesting quarterback conversation going into this one. Obviously, the Colts lost Anthony Richardson again. Second time this year, right? First concussion. This time a AC joint sprain. Is that right?
Yeah.
Not
A
good.
serious one. He's out for like 4 to 8 weeks.
Not good.
Yeah.
Not good. And then Trevor Lawrence. Some ups and downs going on there, but I'm going to take the Jaguars here by a touchdown.
Yeah. I was trying to figure out. I feel like this is one of those series. One of the team gets the best of the other. It's usually the Jaguars. Even when the Jaguars were bad, they would find a way to beat the Colts. That's what it is. Although last year they split the two results. So,
do you know who has a higher passer rating, Fields or Trevor Lawrence?
well, probably Fields.
Correct.
Yeah. But I thought it was impressive how the Jaguars went to London and won 2 games in a row. That's a little wild card here, though. I almost want to take the Colts just because the Jaguars coming back from 2 weeks in London and they're not taking a bye week, which is pretty odd.
You're taking Minshew mania. Actually, I can get on board with that.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Jaguars to win, but I Colts to cover in this game, mainly because of that. You got to think there's some jet lag here. Gardner Minshew's not bad. Jonathan Taylor's up and running around now. He's back. Zach Moss has still been good. So I'm going to take the Colts to cover here. Going with the dogs so far.
All right.
How's everyone doing? This is Nick Foles. Just entered the meeting.
Former Colts quarterback Nick Foles.
Do you think he entered like every meeting at House Hall that way when they were in that Zoom season?
He's so professional. Maybe. I don't know. All right. Fox noon. Saints at Texans. Texans 1.5 point home dogs in this game.
Are the Saints good? Good defense.
And they have not been impressive offensively.
Opposing quarterbacks have like a passer rating of like 67 against them.
Okay. That's something.
It's something, right? But I don't feel like that in today's NFL, that's going to change at least a little bit. So I'm interested to see what CJ Stroud does.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the Saints. I'm going to take the Saints.
Yeah, I think I am too. I don't love it. This was a game I'd probably stay away from. But if I had to go rookie quarterback, as good as CJ Stroud has looked, rookie quarterback against a pretty damn good defense. I mean, they just wiped the floor with the Patriots last week. Surprised the spread actually isn't even higher. So I'm going to go with the Saints there as well.
I'd like to see him get his hands on more balls.
Fox 325. Good little afternoon game here. Late afternoon window. Lions at Bucks. The Bucks coming off a bye week. 3-point home dogs against the Lions who have been rolling.
I'm on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
We can no longer use this segment of our Thursday episodes to make fun of the Lions. They are a damn good football team with difference makers on both lines of scrimmage. Pro Bowl wide receiver and a quarterback that's playing out of his mind right now. I mean, the Lions are for real.
Yeah.
Are they as good as here's a question for you, Hoge. Are they as good as the 49ers and the Eagles, in your opinion?
No, not right now. But check in a little bit. I mean, I'm a little worried about the 49ers holding up from an injury standpoint. They got just a lot of injury-prone players. You know, if, God forbid, Christian McCaffrey went down, it could look a lot different. I think the Eagles across the board are still the better team. So, no, I don't think they're quite there. But I will say this. The Lions are no longer the Lions. We can't say. We cannot say Lions are the Lions.
Saying that.
I know. No, the Lions are no longer the Lions. I don't know what they are now. but they're not the Lions. They're good. So in this game against the Bucks, I'm gonna stick with the Lions. I mean,
I like the identity that they have. I really do. Like they
Yeah.
know how they want to win.
they did have that slip up against the Seahawks a few weeks ago, and it does make me worry a little bit in this game. But I'm gonna take the Lions to cover.
Me too.
All right.
Knock on wood if you're with me.
Monday night on ABC and ESPN, 7:15. You have the Dallas Cowboys at the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers 2-point dogs. I don't want to call them home dogs because it's gonna be a home game for the Cowboys.
Yeah. The Bears will have their own home game out there at the end of this month.
But I mean, those Cowboys fans, the amount that are in LA. I mean, they have training camp in LA, outside LA. This is going to be a massive home game for the Cowboys. Dallas didn't look good last week.
No, but I don't think they're that bad.
No, I
I
don't
think the 49ers just might be that good at making you look that bad if you're seemingly that unprepared as the Cowboys looked, but there's talent on that team. Seems like this could be a get-right game for them. They seem to respond when everybody in ESPN is like making fun of them.
I'm going to take the Cowboys.
Yeah, me too.
Who's the best meat smoker of your offensive line?
What do you mean by meat smoker?
Training camp.
Old school one there.
Josh Sitton.
Yeah.
Patrick Finley patented laugh.
Little laugh in there, yeah. Inappropriate, I thought, quite frankly. This is the Friday night game. All right, just for the record, Johns puts these games in. Friday night, Notre Dame college prep at Carmel Catholic. He's got the spread at a somewhat disrespectful -3 for Carmel.
Well, you're playing up in division here. It might be a down year for Notre Dame, but you're still playing up.
Didn't we do that last week against Providence?
That's just like up one division. This is up.
Okay, this is. Oh, okay.
2, 3 divisions.
I think it's just 2.
I think I got it right here.
I don't know. Honestly, Johns, I'm sound like the most football-y coach in the world.
1, 2, 3.
We play who's in front of us. That Catholic League has me so confused. If I don't have it literally in front of me, which I could pull up right now, I cannot keep track of who's in whose division. I know who's in our division, and that's about it.
Yeah.
So, and I know Loyola plays Mount Carmel next week.
That's the big one.
Yeah.
We're just having fun here. But yes, my Dons are having a tough year. It's okay. It's okay, guys.
But to your point, I mean, they played a really hard schedule.
Always.
Up until last week's, not great loss to DePaul. I mean, you would look at their schedule and be like, okay, yeah. I mean, right. Fenwick, it's on there.
Mount Carmel.
But
that's
yeah.
Again, for those listening in France, this is an amazingly tough conference where there's no gimmies. Not one. You might have like one team that's having a down year, but more often than not, every week's a tough one.
Well, I could give my best Bill Belichick and just, go on a 15-minute diatribe about how good the Dons are. I'll just say I think they're better than their record. Got to take them seriously Friday night. I think they're good in all phases and treat it like the records are 0-0.
How much is your coaching staff using the game, 2 years ago, as motivation? So 2 years ago, Carmel and Notre Dame played in the Prep Bowl playoffs. Notre Dame won handedly, but there was a lot of young players playing for Carmel at that point that are now seniors, right?
Yeah, and especially because that was Prep Bowl after the JV season ends. I mean, I would say almost all of our seniors were probably playing at that time as sophomores by the time that game came around. So yeah, maybe a little motivation in there, but it's kind of cool looking back on that, honestly, to see how far a lot of these kids have come. So should be a good one Friday night. I'm not going to pick the game, but you're more than welcome to.
No, if you're not going to do it, I'm not going to do it.
I
But I will double down on my Portillo's bet that I've never paid up. We're always on Zoom together. That's it. Will you be at House Hall tomorrow?
I will.
Thursday? Let's go to
Yeah.
Portillo's for lunch.
Sure. We don't have a pod to do in the morning.
No.
Although we do have to be there by like 10:30. It's a little early for Portillo's.
No, they got that window in between. You got to do stuff then?
Oh, yeah. No, I can make it. We can make that work.
There we go.
All right. I'll take some Portillo's tomorrow. Appreciate it. I feel like you owe me more than one at this point, but
Yeah. Well,
I
I think I just did a double or nothing bet, but here I am going to take you anyway.
Yeah, I can't keep track anymore. A lot of victories in these bets.
Yeah.
All right. Well, appreciate Alec Lewis coming on. We both got the Bears winning. You know what that means? Not good. They sucked us back in, is what it means. And so it'll probably.
If they're playing the 49ers this week, I picked the 49ers, but they're playing.
I mean, there's
Justin
a lot of
Jefferson-less. I say that right? Justin Jefferson-less Vikings.
I think if Jefferson was playing, they'd probably take the Vikings.
Yeah,
it's a big deal. He's like he's the best receiver in the league.
Top 3 player overall in the league.
Yeah. Bears getting that extra rest too. A little mini bye. We'll see how it goes. Bears need to start getting some of these NFC North wins. Not been many of those in recent history. So big one for the Bears. We will be back Sunday post game. We will wrap it all up, win or lose, for the Chicago Bears. Looking forward to it. In the meantime, please check us out at Adam Hoge, at Adam Jahns on Twitter. You can follow all of our coverage from House Hall the next few days leading up to the game. You can, for the Vikings side, check out Alec Lewis at Alec_Lewis. Of course, follow our show account at Hoge Jahns. HogeJahns.com is where you go to buy all the merch. It's all up there. Hats, hoodies, polos, t-shirts. We had some conversations about getting the beanies back in stock too, I believe.
Yeah, it's cold
sudden.
out. I need a new blue hoodie.
You need a new blue one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Order's going in tomorrow.
There you go. And check out our friends at obviousshirts.com as well. I was looking at some of their Halloween gear. They tweeted that out earlier. They have a shirt that just says Halloween costume. I think it's perfect for me.
I like that.
They also have one that says Future Ghost.
Also good.
It's pretty good. So they got plenty of stuff up at obviousshirts.com. But you can find all our merch courtesy of Obvious Shirts at HogeJahns.com. You can buy it direct there as well. Any final thoughts?
Nope. I'm tired.
Yeah, I am too. These late pods. All right. Why don't you man up and come to the game Friday night?
Got a poncho for me?
We can find a poncho. You don't have a raincoat?
I'm not going to wear one that's like that brown, though.
Well, you can wear I didn't say it had to be brown. You can wear your green colors. There's no rules here. I'm just saying, come out.
If this thing gets canceled on Friday, I'll be there.
Okay.
Got a
I don't
kid
believe
thing.
you.
Trunk or treat thing. Speaking of
probably
Halloween.
not.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it'll be fun regardless. We'll talk to you Sunday after the Bears game.
See ya.